Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of the Salt Dough Trilogy. In part 1 we made the salt dough and we did some basic cookie cutter shapes. We've had mixed results. We also have batch 2 in as I speak because that one doesn't show it very well, but we've had a bit of puffing going on and it sounds really hollow. Now that's not meant to happen. So I had a bit of research in, because there's already been some tweaking to this recipe that I found. We needed about twice the amount of water. And now I found we need the temperature to be all the way down. It does say 150 centigrade, no fan, for 1 hour 15 minutes approximately. Now the timing is fine, but the temperature is too high. A lot of the recommendations online was to have the oven down as low as possible, and then it takes as long as it takes. And also, I already started this video, but I think the battery's running low on my controller because I hit record and it did not record. So I talked through making this really easy little teddy bear here, and I'm going to have to make him again because you all didn't see it. I will show you him. No, I won't. That's more hiccups. That is camera. We want... behave. We want video. There he is. So we're going to make him a friend. He has a little tail. Luckily, we've got plenty to play with. So, no more hiccups. Fingers crossed. We will make another teddy just so you can see how it's done, because the whole point of this was to make it a nice easy introduction to like homemade sculpting, homemade clay work that anyone can do, hence the salt dough. We're not using any special tools, we're just using things that you can find in your house. So I've got a kebab stick, cocktail stick, a knife, a rolling pin, a little bit of water, and anything else that I can find laying around in the kitchen that isn't a specialist tool. So everyone can start this. So let's take a chunk and start again, and we'll make him a little friend. Another little teddy friend. Now this dries out quite quickly, that's why I kept it in the bag. If it's too dry to work with after you've kneaded it, you can always add just a tiny drop of water, just to rehydrate it. Right, let's break this in. So we're going to need a little head. Now, because this is quite a dry clay, if you try to roll it into a ball outright, quite often it will crumble. So I find it best to give it a little kneading to begin with, squish it together quite a bit to begin with, and then go for a gentle roll. We've got a little teddy head. We want a little teddy body. Probably about that big. Give him a little belly. We're not going to go for too much detail here because we're going to keep it nice and easy. So we've got a little head, we've got a little body. We're going to make a little tiny muzzle and nose. And for the muzzle, just a little circle. Squash down a little bit. So a little muzzle. And a little tiny nose. 2 little eyes, that's a bit big, so half that. One eye is bigger than the other, but that doesn't matter. We'll just trim a little piece off there. 2 little eyes, a nose, a muzzle. We'll get him a little tail. Just sort of like a pinched off little circle, a bit like a teardrop. And then we won't need all of that. We'll make some arms and legs. So we're going to split this a little off half, so the leg portion is bigger than the arm portion. And then we're going to half that again. And just make 2 little sausage shapes for arms. I can already tell that's quite a chunky arm. That doesn't matter. This one can be a bit more chunky. Quite a bit chunky. We might take a little piece off there. That may be a bit too chunky compared to the other one. It's alright if they're both going to be chunky. If you've got one well chunky arm, that's the arm that's worked out and the other arm hasn't done diddly squat. That's not too bad. And 2 legs. That one can have a little bit more. Even just squash an angle up the bottom there, like suggest a little foot. And same again. Two little legs, one slightly longer than the other. We can tweak that. Right, now we're going to pop them together. So we'll work on the face first. So we're going to get the face nice and wet. And we're going to get the muzzle, pop that on and give it a little squish down. We're going to get the 2 little eyes, pop them on there just above the muzzle, give them a little squish down. We're going to wet the muzzle so we can get the nose on there and give that a little squish down. Oh, I know what I haven't done. Let's put the head back down for a second, getting carried away. The ears. They're nice and easy. So much like the muzzle, we'll just get a little circle and squash it down a little bit. Try not to keep sticking my thumbnail in it. Then cut it in half. And using a biro lid, give him some little ear marks. Like that. Then we'll wet across the top of his head and pop the ears on. Oh, he's a bit wonk, this guy. I'll push that one down a little bit. That's a bit better. Right. Now we're going to pop legs on first. So we're just going to press in a little bit either side of the body. pinch him in a bit. We may as well pre-pinch for the arms as well. And then we're just going to wet in those grooves and push the legs in a little bit. Like that. And then same for the arms. Wet in those grooves. Wet in those grooves. I'm going to peek at the camera and make sure we are actually recording this time. We are. And do the same again with those arms. Give them a little squeeze in there. And then for the head, same again. Give it a little tiny squish down. Wet it. Pop the head on. Give that a little tiny squish down. Now spin him around. And same for the tail. Little dinky dinky groove. Little bit of water. Stick his little tail on. There's our little dinky bear. Now, we'll do what we didn't do with the other one. We'll give him a little bit of detail. So I'm going to use a cocktail stick. I'll put a little groove in. For a little mouth. We'll even give him some little whisker dots. A couple of pupils. Do we do anything else with him, or do we keep him as he is? We'll mark off a little chest. We'll even do it with some little stitches. Oh, right. We have a little teddy buddy now. Now, I think I'm going to have a bit of an experiment. Because I've wanted to do this simple sculpture idea for a while. So I figured, why not do it now and also make it an experiment? Because if it's low and slow, it should be fine. And it will just add to the effect if they do burn off on the edges a little bit. I want to make a little hedgehog with cocktail sticks. So, what better time to try that than now? I'm just going to make him a little tiny hedgehog. And simple. So big round teardrop style. We'll say hedgehog slash porcupine. Little dinky head area. A little pinched in nose there. So we've got this sort of shape going on. A little cinched in at the front. Now let's see if this will work. This is going to be our experiment one. So I'll be curious to see if this works. So, should we give him any simple little details? Simple little eyes. Using the bottom of, oops, oh, now he's got a little nostril, so we may as well have two little nostrils, right? There we go. Let's see if we can put a simple rose together. So we will start off with a little circle centerpiece. We're going to see how thin we can build up petals around it. We might even pinch it off as we're going because there's going to be quite build up. Right, this might have gone as far as we can take it. Here is our sculpted efforts. So phase 1, phase 2. So phase 1, made a teddy, record hadn't hit, so made him a friend. Now, I don't know if you can see this there or not, but we've had a bit of, he's sort of got a big old rupture in his neck and under his chin, and a little bit under his bum, and a little bit by his leg, but mainly around the neck. This also happened with this guy, around the neck. A little bit around the bum, but mainly around the neck. So I think that was due to, because they were particularly wet areas. This guy came out fine though, oddly enough. Little crack on the bottom, but apart from that, then I think he had lots of points of release because I put all those cocktail sticks in there, which did not burn. They did not catch. So we'll decide what to do with the hedgehog. And the flower didn't rupture either. Then that had no additional moisture added to it. And it's cool to see just how thin, because that's quite thin, you can work salt dough with. So, lower temperature for a lot longer. These were in for 150, on 150. For a little over, for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Rupture. That guy was on as low as the oven would go, like my oven went as low as 50, and he was in for about 5 hours. So, again, trying to find that balance, but I think these are also sculptures, so they're not flat, they're not thin, they're going to take a lot longer, basically. So, what we're going to do, I have glitter everywhere as well from part 1. So I'm going to try not to get glitter on these guys. We're going to paint them. Now, I don't know if I'm going to paint the hedgehog or not. I quite like him how he is. I might just varnish him. So we'll pop him over there a moment to think about. I've also had an idea of what to do with these guys. Inspired by my girls, because they inevitably, they have got teddies, they've got many other toys as well, work out that there's stuffing inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these guys up and then I'm going to glue in some stuffing where it's ruptured. Because I think that'll be a really cool effect. So let's start out with another palette because that one is fully loaded. I've also got the cheaper paints out to see how they take. Because these took really well, but I had to keep watering them down. Because they dry really quick, and as you go over an area, because it's already dried on the underside, it'll start to peel it back off. These are a bit thinner and a bit runnier. So I'm hoping these will take a bit better. There's only one way to find out, right? So I'm going to do one sort of traditional coloured bear and one rainbow bear. So let's have a look. Let's crack traditional bear out first. If we do dark on the whole, pale for features. It already feels different going on because it's so thin compared to the other. I think because it's so thin I'm going to have to really spread it out. But a little of this stuff goes a long way, so this cheaper stuff is definitely going to be more cost effective for salt dough. Well, these paints have impressed me. I mean, I thought they were decent for the price anyway, but for a lot of the times it's like right paint for the right job. It turns out for salt dough, cheaper paint does a better job. I'm not going to need anywhere near that amount. So that's really cool and good to know. You can just put a little tiny dot down. Right, let's look at Rainbow Bear and let's go for a smaller dot. Just the primaries. Let's see what we can do with just the primaries. Oh, that was a bit more than a dot. Oh, little rainbow Ted. Looks quite cute. What to do with this flower? It's just paled up a touch, and that'll give us a little thinking time. We might just try, see how it takes. Once it's all been white, just dry brush in the tips so it can be like, you know, peach tinted rose or something like that, or a fairly palish colour. So I'm going to give this guy a little black nose. I don't know what I'm going to do about the eyes yet. I'll go shiny black. Let's go for little green eyes. And we'll put a black dot. I want them to be shiny as well, don't we? So let's go over here. I'm going to give this guy all red bits on the centre of the ears. I'm going for this red because I ran into it a little bit with the brown, and the pale brown or the cheap red will not go over it. This guy's going to have a shiny black nose and shiny black eyes. Oh, looks kind of sweet. Let's just give this guy a little detail. Now we're going to flash forward to pup being white, flower being white, hedgehog. I'm just going to seal it with glue and keep him as he is. I might dot a little black in the eyes and up the nostrils, or like pink up the nose. Flower is dry, so I thought gold in the end. We might do a touch of silver as well, we'll see. So I'm just going to try and catch the edges. Yeah, I'm going to leave that as it is. So I don't even need that amount. I'll say that for something else. Sculpture is done. These look so cool. Let's talk through them and get up close and personal at the same time. Otherwise I do end up repeating myself. So here's the little party. So we'll start with the first bear, where I had a recording boob. Now, since these bears had a little bit of a break where they were overly moist, we'll just let him steal the limelight for a second. I thought I'll make these in tribute to my girls and how their toys end up. A little bit torn, with a little bit of stuffing come out. So I took some of the stuffing from one of their many torn toys and poked it in where his head's coming off. So this is little classical coloured bear. How cute is he? And this was using the cheap paints. They worked really well. And we've gone for some nice traditional colours there. How sweet is he? He's come out really well. He's nice and dry. He's a bit rippled under the bum. Like I say, we're still trying to work out how to combat the rippling, but it's not such an issue when you're making a sculpture and there's a clear bottom to it. It's not going to get seen. How good is he? His little tiny tail. So he's come out really well. Now Bear Round 2, to make up for the lack of recording of Bear Round 1, we went for something a little bit different. We went for a little rainbow bear. Again, this was using the cheap paints. Gave him a little bit more feature in the face. He also had a little explosion. And a little explosion down there too. So he's got stuffing coming out in more than one place. But he's come out really cool. I like the colours. Again, like I say, this is just using the cheap ones. They take really well. Which is good to know, because you want this to be a cheap product, a cheap project. So you don't want to have to, you know, save all your money by making salt dough to then spend all your money getting paints for it. Like I say, that particular pack of paints is less than £2. I think it's like £1.50 something. It's around there. It's really cheap. They are acrylics. They're just, for acrylics, they're really watery. But for salt dough, that works really well, and you needed such a finite amount. I put a blob in there about the size of that nail, and I barely used, like, perhaps the nail tip of colour. I think I used red the most, but then that was perhaps the bigger surface area. So, yeah, he come out really well. Then we have, we'll move those up there for a second, the hedgehog. How cool is he? Oh, I really like the little hedgehog here. And it is good to know that if you pop cocktail sticks in there, for one, when it's so low and long, they do not catch. Not a single cocktail stick is caught. And they are not coming out. They have totally fused with the salt dough, which is also good to know, because I did wonder whether they'd slip in or out like they do with, or they have the potential to, with air drying clay. So I had to, like, you know, add, when I used them in the past with a sea dragon, I went along and then added a little drop of glue to all of them just to make sure that they weren't going to come out. He's so sweet. So I really like him. He's such a cool little addition to the little salt dough family. And to say he was so thick, he did not, well, he had a little bit of rupture on the underside, but he didn't like go like popcorn. He just had a couple of little cracks come through. But I think that it helped that there were so many points where moisture could escape in the baking process because of the cocktail sticks, that it really helped. So yeah, I really like the hedgehog. And we have the flower. No cracks whatsoever. There was no moisture added to this one. Just so you can see all the way around, there is no cracks, and it is baked all the way through, and it is really cool to see just how thin you can make the salt dough and it doesn't break. I mean, perhaps if I dropped this on the floor it would, but you know, it didn't break in the process. None of these are like weak. So yeah, that's really cool. And again, just this time, we went for a more simple painting. We just kept it white and just dry brushed the tips, so it was sort of like a blushed rose. So that's come out really cool. Again, I like that. It's all, so far we've got 3 different little sculptures going on. And then we just finished it off with a little doggy. Because of course I have to sculpt a little doggy. And again, I went for a super simple painting style with this one. Kept it just white, little black nose, little pink tongue, little red ball of course, and then just some black ears and a black tail. I added a little tiny dot of white for a little shine on the eyes, a little streak across the nose and across the ball, and a little stripe down the centre of the tongue. How happy does this little pup look? Now, he was put together with no moisture whatsoever, and we did have both ears fall off, nose and arm. So I glued those all back on with super glue, and they take fine. They haven't come off again since. There was a little issue getting them to stick initially, but that's just super glue for you. So yeah, I really like him. And I was impressed to say no moisture was added, that both of his legs stayed on, his tail stayed on. Even his muzzle here, it looks like it was on the verge of coming away, because you can see, especially from the front, it looks like it's about to pop off. But it isn't. And his tongue didn't fall out, which was also impressive. So yeah, our little cheeky pup there. So I consider, even with the ruptures going on in the bears, this a success. Because we still made them work for us. I like that they are old busted up bears. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you have a favourite amongst the 5? I will obviously always pick the dog, because I love dogs. But if there was no dog, I don't know whether it'd be, as much as I love that we've got a cool rose out there, and the teddy bears have got character, it'd be, I think, a toss-up between this very cute, simple little hedgehog here, which was very easy to make, or the bears. Because, again, I think I'm swayed because they also make me think of my girls. So let me know what you think out of all of those. What do you prefer? What do you think came out the best? What would you consider trying yourself? So thank you so much for stopping by and checking me and my channel out. There is going to be a part 3. That'll be the 3rd and final part of the Salt Dough Trilogy, where we try adding food colour in and dyeing the dough beforehand. See how that works. So that'll be interesting to find out. Like if you like what you see, comment if you've got something to say, and subscribe if you really like what you see and you want to see more and know when it's coming. Thank you all again so much. Take care and see you in the next one.